want to confirm whether I have our panelists writing. Daniel, Karori, are you in? Are you a host? Because I usually take that seriously. Technology doesn't joke sometimes. Yes, tell me, confirm whether you are already a host.
Yes, I am a host. Thank you.
Okay, good. I hope it's a machine you're using right now. Caroline Odandi, I hope you are also a host.
Yes, Damaris, I am. And
Fantastic.
a bit chilly where I am.
Don't worry, we are going to light it up. We're going to light it up and make it a bit warmer in the next 1.5 to 2 hours as we proceed. So I suggest we just go on because the queue has reduced a bit right here on the admission. Mary Jenga, Mary, please confirm. Mary, it's the one from our office.
Yes, I'm in, Damaris.
So I'm going to share some host rights with you just in case things don't play well. To confirm if you have the host.
Okay, Damaris.
Okay, great. I think we go right into starting. Mary, we will help with the queue right now. Nimekuskumia right there, so you can keep on admitting those who are coming in. Great. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's session. I've been asked many questions about this session, and I'm so glad because the journey we started about learning and understanding what are the need and pain points of the human resource people from last year, because we went to a journey to actually see how we can respond better, sort of changed when we were right at the middle of it, because we got to know of other things that people are looking for and probably would add so much immense value to their profession and to them as individuals. And particularly when I talk, I'm talking about more so people in my profession. Sorry, I'm always mean and very selfish when it comes to human resource. So we came up with a list this year to sort of get a series that we are calling it from knowledge to kind of skill series that's going to run for the next 4 weeks. So we will have like a session every week for the month of April. So welcome aboard. The session for this week, definitely you know it, that's why you're here. It's job evaluation, very interesting session, very fantastic, fundamental and important skill for anybody in HR, not just particularly the ones who demanded for it, especially at the management and top level, but I believe it is very important for everyone. So welcome on board, everyone. I'm going to move swiftly to introduce my panelists. And before I move into introducing my panelists, those who don't know myself, my name is Damaris Ndungwa. I am broadly an HR professional, but I always say I have a big bias in learning and development, because that's who I've spent a whole 14 years plus trying to help organizations to be able to navigate some challenges through learning. Thanks very much for muting. Those who are joining, please mute yourself so we can be able to move swiftly. Thank you very much. So I am per se in terms of professional learning, an expert and an OD, organization development professional, currently working with Blue Concepts Africa as the head of OD and learning. And I'm really excited to go into this session with a very experienced panelist. Dr. Susan, I see you. You may want to mute. Yes, thank you very much. So we are happy to actually be joined by these 2 panelists we have today. The reason we have them is because they have such an extensive experience in job evaluation, and would want to actually tap a bit from how they do it and what they have found it to be of importance, and how we can be able to make the same as we apply it to our work scenarios, as well as our lives as professionals. So welcome on board. I'm going to introduce my panelists led by Daniel Karori. Incidentally, the panelists I have today is not like panelists I knew very long time ago. In fact, the oldest I know, I think, is Daniel. I just gotten to know Daniel in like a year and about about 3 months. And I just got to learn so much from him, not just from learning what he does. He does a lot of amazing things in HR. Mary, there's someone, I think it's Gloria Migai. Gloria, you may want to mute yourself. Gloria, yes, thank you. To even getting to partner with him and working with him in most of our programs around jobs, job evaluation, talent management in Blue Concepts Africa. It's a pleasure to actually have Daniel right there. So Daniel, you can say just something about yourself, and I'll flash your very rich profile as well. It's quite opening at the moment. So welcome, Daniel.
Thank you, Damaris. Thank you, everyone. Good morning. I'm very happy to be here, to be part of this learning session and to meet like-minded people in HR. So it's a very exciting moment for me as well. Name Daniel Karori. I've been in talent management, HR consulting, OD for the last 13 years now. I've been a lifelong consultant. So a bit of what I've been doing is within the OD space. That is normal organization design, job evaluation and grading, talent management, competency development. I've supported quite a number of organizations in that space. Job evaluation and grading, daily bread. Worked with different systems, the manual systems, we call the book, the ones for ticking, the online systems as well. And that is what I've been doing for the last 11, 12 years with clients both in public sector, government, NGOs, as well as private sector organizations. So I'm sure some of you, I see a few people that we've interacted within the organizations or as a group in an open learning session. So I'm very excited to be here. It's going to be great meeting and speaking to you. A lot of what I do currently is support professionals and consultants to enhance their skills in job evaluation. An implementation partner for Grader, job evaluation engine. It's one of the most advanced job evaluation systems you will ever come across. So I'm happy to be associated, and you are lucky to be part of this team because we have some good news at the end of the session. So happy to be here, Damaris. I think we'll interact more as we go through the session.
Thank you very much. That's Daniel for you. I know it's quite censored, a lot of info there, but one thing that makes me excited to have him is because I've got to learn a lot from Daniel on issues to do with evaluation, especially organization evaluations that spans from organizational health of your through all functions in an organization. So he's very good at analyzing organizations, and I bet that's why he's also very good at any other evaluation you talk about, including the biggest HR audits that we talk about all along. And I am so proud to actually to have Daniel, of course, on board and to have actually tapped a lot from his immense knowledge. So allow me to bring on board the next speaker, who is Caroline, sorry, why am I calling Daniel? Caroline Odandi, and Caroline Odandi is a lady I got to meet towards the end of last year. We actually sort of jumped into a project, you know, the way you're thrown somewhere into the deep sea together, and we just came out right, and we were so excited that we executed such a successful project. So welcome, Caroline. I got to learn you are actually intense in HR and issues to do with job evaluation. Karibu sana, Caroline. Caroline, are you there? You may want to unmute. Okay, I see Caroline is having some sound issues, but I will give her an opportunity when she gets to navigate that. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome you people to the session straight away, and we will go through a kind of guided structure, because this one is about learning about how to do more than just knowledge, because I believe most of us here actually know a lot about the topic you're talking about. And probably we could just start quickly by demystifying what is this thing we call job evaluation. And as I wait for Caroline to sort our sound, maybe Daniel, you could help us demystify this as we bring her on board.
Thank you, Damaris. Should I present or we just keep it?
Yeah, sure. You can go ahead if you want to share the definition right there.
Okay.
Good. Yes,
Now,
actually, Caroline is right here. Sorry, we know we had lost you a bit. Yes. You can quickly tell us something about yourself, then we will.
I'll just take a minute, and sorry for that. My name's Caroline Odandi, a HR organization specialist, and I'm glad to be here and happy to be seeing a lot of faces or people that we either have interacted with in this space. Yes. Job evaluation is also one of the strengths that I bring in this panel. And having worked in both public, private, and both the diplomatic and core, I'm happy to be here just to share those experiences, real-time things on what we do to ensure that job evaluation is properly done. So thank you, and over to you, Daniel and Damaris.
Welcome. Thanks very much for joining us, Caroline. We're jumping right into it. Actually, this question I wanted to ask you because I have, I'm privy of a lot of things that you've been able to do across many organizations as pertains to job evaluation and many kinds of evaluations. So as Daniel flashes actually the agenda on how we're going to flow in this session, probably you can just help us demystify what's job evaluation. And I know you've put such a fantastic definition right in the chat. In the presentation. So Daniel, you can still move to the next one as Carol also tells us what it's all about, job evaluation.
And I think welcome to everyone who is listening to us across the globe and where you're joining. Job evaluation is a key thing. And if there are many things that we will take through and take home into this process this morning, will be number one, that job evaluation is a process. And it is for everyone. I think let's put that right. Everyone that runs or sits or works in any institution, any organization, is it family, is it the small, the SMEs, is it in public, private, job evaluation is key and very, very important. And number one, that it's important, it is the process of getting the relative worth. Very key. Worth of any job or the jobs that any institution, any organization has, one, systematically, and two, objectively. Because we see a lot of times when somebody just comes and says, all these jobs are the same, they should be lumped together. But one key thing, it is a process. We should really think of it. So that it's not done haphazardly, it's not just picked and anybody works on it. To check the relative worth, in layman's language, the weight of each job, weight of anything that you want to do, any job that you want to have in your institution, in your organization, that should be something that you should be able to do, and do it, one, objectively, and two, systematically. Then number three, its objective is just to ensure that all the jobs in the institution are, one, graded well, and two, they're also harmonized in a way that people can understand that when I come to this institution, the worth of the contribution that I bring, the value that I bring belongs to this important group and also important worth to this organization. So maybe I will just leave it there, because then the delve of all the information will be shared in the presentations that we have. But
sure, thanks very much. Absolutely. I think in a very clear way, you've defined what job evaluation is, touching on the jobs, finding the relativity of the jobs within an organization. Very clear there, Caroline. Maybe I'm seeing some very interesting, those who are visual like me, right here in the job organization image. Maybe Daniel, you could quickly just explain what this is all about.
Thank you, Damaris. Thank you, Carol. I think we have a broad definition of what is it that we are looking at or we are talking about. Yes. Now, on the visuals, you can look on the left-hand side. That is how jobs look in an organization. There are those that are faint, there are those that are bold, there are those jobs that stand out, maybe because of the people. Or maybe because of the size of the organization or how jobs just grow within an organization. So it's very important for you to look at these jobs. As a HR profession, you get into an organization and there are all these manner of jobs. People are paid differently. You get all these requests. Hey, my pay based on the people within my group, paid less or never promoted. So how do you handle those questions? The first steps to start with is to first of all ensure that once you look at all those jobs that you have, using a job evaluation and grading, which is in the middle part here, now you have different grades. For example, this would be grade 1 to 4. Then for all these jobs that have been lumped on the left-hand side, now we start arranging them within the grade based on their job family, which is either finance, HR, IT, marketing, and also horizontally across the different grades. So because jobs in different functions can weigh the same, can be paid around the same price, because they have been graded in a systematic way, and you have the right end game towards that. So for you to be able to untangle, if I'm to use that word, all these jobs from this so-called mess we find ourselves in, job evaluation will plan that for you. And that now creates an avenue for like, what next do you do once you have the grades together? And I think that is what we'll be talking about in this session as we move by.
Absolutely, thanks. I was actually getting scared that you're moving to my next phase of the discussion. And just before we even move to demystify a bit about what you're talking about, the job as the way they appear and within an organization, and the job as the most basic unit within an organization that drives the structure and many other things. Maybe you could just a bit tell us, Daniel, when it comes to job evaluation, what are some of the signs that me as a professional would be looking at? What are some of the symptoms that would actually tell me that I think we need to do a job evaluation? What would that look like?
The major one is when you cannot justify how different jobs and different positions are paid within the organization. When you look at your payroll and you find anomalies, glaring anomalies, where people doing the same job are paid towards the extreme ends. So you will know that there is a problem in that. The other issue is when people are not growing, like you are stagnating and you're at the lower level. Usually within organizations, if you move up, you find yourself in a situation where there are fewer positions at the top. But at the bottom here, at the middle, at the lower level, you expect people to grow into the next level. And when you note within a long period of time, people have not moved, they are still doing what they do, and they are not moving, and there is no justification why they are still stuck in that position, then you need to check and see, how do we grade these jobs? Also, when jobs have grown. When jobs have grown, that means the last time you reviewed a job description, when you find yourself in a situation whereby a vacancy has come into the organization, and you look at the JD of the person that just left and you note that you cannot even find a person who matches that, then know something is wrong in the job itself, the way it is designed. It needs to be relooked into and evaluated so that you're able to map the expectation on the jobs to the competencies, the skills, and you're able to have a profile of the individual who will successfully do the job. Also, during performance management, there are situations where you look at the feedback from your managers and there's nothing constructive in terms of feedback that they are giving. Many a time do we find ourselves looking at performance management reports from managers. They say, oh, he's nice, or she's been doing a great job, she's been helpful to the team, but they are not able to say what is it that they are good at and what do they need to develop into. So that means it's moved from being job to being the person. So those are some of the signs that you need to look into. Also, when you find yourself in a situation where employees are challenging why they are graded and why they are placed, how they are placed, and you cannot defend it as a HR professional, this calls for a job evaluation. So those, among others, that will speak are some of those areas that are red flags that calls for a job evaluation.
Thanks very much. I know there's quite a list about that, and it's a bit clear. When you speak, we can relate actually with the workplace and the things we do as HR. And I'm looking at Caroline is smiling and nodding very well about what you're saying. But Caroline, tell us, as we think about job evaluation and conducting job evaluation, are there some guidelines that we should consider first? Caroline, did I lose you? Can you hear me?
I think maybe just to add, I can hear you.
Yes,
I can hear you. Yeah, I think something that just to add on what Daniel talked about, in case there are job changes or the institution, there are new departments that require that somebody looks at it, and that happens a lot. Even during COVID, we saw a lot of changes. There are changes in an institution or changes in departments. That will be some sign for you to be looking as a HR specialist or as a manager that there is need for an evaluation. And two, I think something when also when there are new jobs, maybe there needs to be enriching of some jobs that your funding is changing and you need to either merge some of the work. There needs to be that evaluation to be done. But key in every job evaluation process, number one, there must be fairness, because we are not dealing with people. It's not people. You know, sometimes we do the job evaluation because it is your friend or it is somebody who needs to be there. No, but it is because we need to look at it as the job, not persons. I hope that gets very clear to us. Don't do it because it is your friend or it is somebody in the institution. It should be specific just to the role and to the position that we are doing the evaluation to. Then number three, it must be attached to the existing, the job descriptions in the institution. If they are not, then you need to be able to create the job descriptions that will support. And number four, it should be having to have sustainability. When you do the job evaluation, are you thinking of, is it something that's not only for today? Because the organization will grow beyond 1 year, 2 years. Are you doing an evaluation that is sustainable, can be used even a year after, not too soon, because you're either addressing a person, but it should be able to address a sustainable way of letting the organization grow. So that is one of, again, also the guidelines that must be taken into account when you're doing a job evaluation.
Fantastic, thanks very much. Thanks very much. I think sometimes we jump into processes without actually doing some requisite requirement check. And I think you've outlined 4 very fundamental. I remember the first time I got into a job evaluation, of course, I thought I knew something about it. And then we went to a session with Daniel. Sorry, Daniel, I got this because I was a student. So he tells me, I say something and so like, he's actually smiling at me and I'm like, did that sound awkward? And then he'll say, you know, when you're evaluating jobs, it's nothing to do with the person, nothing to do with the pay, your salary. It's just about the role. And I like the way you've emphasized that it is about looking at the job, not the person. And also looking at the job as the way it is now, not thinking about the next month or 1 year. And I think you've actually outlined that very well. And I think we're getting into it. In fact, I'm also learning a lot to do with the job evaluation outlook altogether. So I want to transition a bit to the next phase of this discussion because we've actually lasted the first half an hour. And I want to use this as an engagement point for the next 1 minute before we transition into a practical case study of a job evaluation, because we said here we are going practice, we are going how to do it. And we will be lucky to listen to a practical case study in the next after 1 minute. So Daniel, if you could just pull down the presentation so I could see my people, because I want participants a bit to interact with me. So I can see Nelson. Nelson, just leave Christine alone. Christine is eating with a big spoon. Now you have made Christine to go off video because of that. Continue, Christine. Let Nelson continue feeling bad about it. You can
I'm
look
not
for his
feeling
big
bad
spoon.
about it. I'm happy she's doing evaluation in a big way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like the way you're using the chat as well. So continue engaging, but I wanted to ask you, we are about 60 of us here in this Zoom. I still haven't looked on the other where place you're streaming live, but have you done any job evaluation? Have you had an experience of doing a job evaluation right here? And if you have, you can just tell me through the chat, because we are sharing experiences here, which is part of learning. You can tell me no, yes, many times, once, never, using those words, you know, Nelson or Gutha likes using during analysis. So we can, yes, Nelson says, yes, I have. Good, somebody is so affirmative. No, I haven't done it. Yeah, so if you have, let us know. No, I haven't. So we can leverage on those who have done it many times, and those who haven't, we still continue learning as well. Yes, I have, and thanks, good to know that. No, I didn't come out. You actually confirm you haven't done any job evaluation. Have you done any job evaluation? Yes, Christine. No, I haven't. Christine is not doing any evaluation here, Nelson, let me tell you. Martha Bita agrees, yes, we have. We will leverage on that, Mother. You tell us your experience if you get time there. Mark Jason, no, not yet. I like that word, not yet. So welcome, Hussein, Robert, Lynette. You say not yet. Good. Looks like there's a number. It's actually a mix. The people who have actually done it, I think that is CHRP, Micheni, Terry. Yes, I have. Good. Great to know that. There is Felix Kimonyi. Oh, welcome. Good to have you here. He's saying partially. I don't know whether there's anything like partial JE evaluation process. We will be told whether there's anything like that. So there we have it. Daniel and Caroline, we have a mix here. We have experience and people who have no experience. And Natasha, thanks very much. Masaru says, yes, I've done a job evaluation. So good. Maybe as we continue to experience the level at which you've engaged with job evaluations here, maybe Caroline, and I'll call upon you because I know you have done a number, especially both extensively in the government, particularly the county government, having supported the county government for the last 5 years. It's actually half the year the counties that have existed. And also in other areas in East and beyond, East Africa and beyond. You can just tell us When you were doing that job evaluation, I mean, how did you do it? What was your starter? What triggered you to start such a project within your organization? Caroline, come in.
Okay, thank you so much, Damaris. And I want to, as I spoke earlier, one other principle that we need to keep is consistency. Because if you're doing, let's not do it for the specific corners, but let's do it consistently so that it adds value and also it improves the way we do business in our organizations. One thing that necessitated us to do a job evaluation, like you saw from my profile, I currently work for the Council of Governors as the head of their HR. And maybe I'll use this as an example because we were participating in the just concluded circle for the public service, apart from the other job evaluations I've done for the other organizations I've worked on. So I'll use this current example. The Council of Governors having been just a new government, a governmental organization. So it needed, there was a need for us to have a standardized grading structure that would be acceptable, defensible, like my colleague Karori said. You'll have something that you can defend. And you can defend it in the middle of the night, you can defend it in the morning, you can defend it when you're asked to do it. So that is what's a need. So we did not have that standardized one. So that necessitated for us to request for a job evaluation exercise. There were also overlaps. If you saw the first structure that was not confusion, let me not call it confusion, but there could be such an array of so many roles in an organization. And for the Council of Governors, where you have 14 devolved functions. Functions scattered, devolved, and when they're devolved, 14 large ones, then there are several under those large devolved functions. We needed to have a clarity, a clear way of saying this job is relative worth can be placed with also this one. That necessitated us to reduce the overlaps, also be able to help us have defined boundaries on where does this belong, where do the HR people belong, then what grades do we put for all these jobs that are in the organization. So that was very key. And then the other one, what was the misalignment of those jobs. Some of them you could find somebody says, I am a committee clerk, if you those who understand the government structure. Another one says, I'm a program officer. Another one was saying this. So there was, you see that? But when we called for that and we said, can we jump into the job evaluation process, which was being done for the public service? It was such, and as I stand today, maybe as I'll be speaking of those successes, you can easily flip any of our grading structure and feel I belong. And I belong equitably. When I say I am a director, I belong to that group of directors because of A, B, C, D. I think those were the thing. And then that just later on, we also noted we did not have a standardized competency framework. So when that happens, you have an organization working very well in the eyes of maybe the public, but internally here, like what my friend Daniel Karori said, there are internal quarrels, internal people saying, it's called the internal relativity. You find people are not speaking the same language that was inside here, which needed a job evaluation would really sort. And that
Did we lose? Is it my side or Caroline went off?
No, I think she had that.
She sort of froze because she's frozen a bit.
Yeah. I think she'll be back. I'll just continue where she is and talk a bit of I have been part of the public sector job evaluation from the first phase in 2013. And a lot of what was troubling organizations then is it was the first job evaluation within the government, the public sector. And there was a lot of confusion on why do we have all these titles? Why do we have such a tall structure? Why? Is it because there are people mapped to those jobs or jobs mapped to those people?
To the people.
There's a lot of sensitization in terms of the structure itself and how best you develop, because we are used to top down, like being told this is the grade you are in, or this job will fall under this grade because of the budget constraints that you have, especially in the NGO sector where projects are aligned to a certain figure. So you are told you don't need a project manager, you need a project officer at this level because the budget is at this level. So in future, when that project even grows, you are not able to defend and say, Daniel, you are project officer because of A, B, and C, but looking at the output and where that incumbent of that position sits, they sit in a group where they feel they don't belong. They sit maybe with leadership or managers, but you've graded the job so low that they don't even feel part of the organization. And that's when the questions start coming in. I don't think I'm remunerated well, or I don't feel my job is taken with the level of importance that it requires within the organization, and justifiably so. Because they are able to see, even by observation, they're able to see wherever I see it, the type of reports, the type of outputs that I bring into the organization do not match with the peers or the people that I work with, or people that I work within the level that I am. So those disparities and inequalities in organizations, those probably are the major issues of employee dissatisfaction, and they reduce a lot of employee engagement, because you feel as part of your contribution in baking this cake, the part that you do, you find it's quite big, but you're compensated with the smallest spoon in the room. So, so it's good, it's good to also understand coming from that aspect. I think Caroline is back. She can continue.
Yes, Caroline, thank you very much. I think you added quite a number of the triggers, and it's interesting that you actually are also part of the public service, incidentally, having participated in the formulation and job evaluation for the public service. Daniel, thanks for adding. Caroline, I know you're back.
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry, yeah, can hear you clearly. I can hear you, Damaris.
Sorry, I was mute. I wanted to ask you again, during the process of you doing the job evaluation, what were the levels of partnership, the roles? What did different people participate? Who participated, and what were their roles?
I think one beautiful thing that gave us success at my current workplace was the participation of every member. The key members were the departmental heads, the HR team, the senior management, the council. It was something which was very, very consultative, because it was the best for the institution. So what happened is we formed a job evaluation committee, and that committee was very helpful. Theirs was to identify the jobs that were supposed to be evaluated, ensure development of quality job descriptions, which is very key in the job evaluation process. And they were also to approve the JDs which were to be evaluated. And then we had the HR team. I think the HR team worked extremely hard, because they were like what we call the process bearers. And they validated the job descriptions, and they ensured clarity. I think when Daniel will be speaking to us later, you'll be able to see how it's important to ensure that everybody does their part very well for you to have the relative worth of each job in the institution. Then we had 2 external job analysts. Maybe that also something which was very helpful. So they also helped us to review the new job descriptions, because when we realized in the past 7 years, there were some jobs that needed to be created at the council. So the job analyst also helped us just to review and update the contents of the existing JDs. This was very key, and it to reflect the roles, the changes in the roles which were there. And then, of course, we had our senior management, which were also able to approve because if you don't get buy-in from senior management, it will be an exercise of futility.
Yeah, in futility.
So that was really something which was important. So we had teams, the heads of departments, their roles were very clear on what they were supposed to do, because they're the ones who knows what kind of roles the positions, the jobs, after they've been given the overall establishment, but they know the fine details of what each position, not person, each position is expected to do and to attain the mandate of the council. Then the committee had their specific roles. The HR teams also had their specific role, like I've explained. Then we had just an external job analysts, which we sourced from, one from private sector and one from public service. They were able to analyze and ensure that any change, any key area that needed to be looked at, properly defined, and seeing the worth relative to what other public service jobs in the same cadre do. And it really gave us clarity at the end of it. So then they looked at it. Then they were taken to the council, which is like the board, to be able to approve that. So everybody, we call them the key actors in.
Looks like Caroline is having a challenge. She's saying it's raining heavily where she is. So as Caroline comes back, and now that we know, Daniel, you were a critical part of the public service job evaluation, maybe you can just take us through again forward on and listening to Caroline. Definitely, it's clear that the process used, analytical kind of approach to job evaluation. So you can tell us what critical or key factors you consider in the process as Caroline comes in.
So what you consider, especially when you are doing the job evaluation in your type of an organization, whether it's public sector, I think that has been the greatest challenge SRC has been facing with the appeals, is where organization leaders or organizations, the job evaluation methodology or system that was used to evaluate the jobs within the organization did not respond to the needs, like they cannot relate. And that is true, because choosing the type of system to do your job evaluation is very key, because you need to check, does it respond to the factors that we work with? Is the system responding to our current realities as an organization? Because these different systems, the way they are designed and the way they have been developed, most of them originally came from working groups. For example, Institute of Human Resource Management, they develop a system for HR professionals. The doctors, they develop theirs. In manufacturing, engineers, they develop their system. So they have factors that relate to their job families and the way they are doing things. So over time, even when these serious systems came up that are used across different sectors and departments came in, there were still some factors that don't apply to some jobs. There are some systems that are specific for the education sector. And they have a lot of emphasis on education, training, as well as scholarly and disciplinary development of, let's say, research materials, books, etc. So you try to use the same system with people who are in the manufacturing, who necessarily you are looking at the output and the way of doing work, then there's a misalignment there. Then moving forward from the analytic, and I think I'll talk a bit about that, it's seeing if the organization grows, then the sophistication of the organization also grows. Yes. Also grows. So you need to measure and see. Before, family businesses, when they started, even most of our businesses in the manufacturing sector, they were family businesses. It was easy to grade and say, well, at this level, we pay this much. At this level, we pay this much. But then it grows. They bring in professionals. They move on from a company with 20 people to a company with 200 people. But they are still applying the old ways of grading a job. A driver is a driver, or who is secretary, etc. So that with time catches up with you. And then at some point, they find themselves in a situation where they need to bring in a HR professional. And you are hired and you are in there, Damaris, first day, and you find a box with a million things. And you need to work and see, how do I align this? And now you start thinking on what is the next step, moving from non-analytical systems of job evaluation to analytical systems. What do I need to consider? What do I need to look into to ensure that the job evaluation system will support what I'm doing? Also having an end game. What do you want to address first? Because the results of job evaluation move into other facets of HR. So you need to know what area do you want to deal with immediately, so that even when you're implementing, you can easily come up with quick wins after that. Yes, we've done the job grading. Then next is, it could be salary alignment, or it could be competency development, or it could be better way of doing performance management, or it could be now moving back and restructuring your organization structure. So you need to also have an end game, both for the leadership and for your staff, because they need to know, why are we doing this? And you're not just doing it to manage people or to manage the expectation of people just on job grading, but what next?
So thanks very much, Daniel. Caroline, I know you're back. It's very awesome, actually, that we have you sort of co-sharing the project we are particularly looking into in job evaluation, especially in the public sector, that was so robust and that spanned for Tara and has spanned for some years now. It's been graded as one of the most effective job evaluation we've had in the public service, which is a great thing. And we are lucky to have the two experts here who have contributed immensely in delivery of the same. Caroline, if you're there, because I wanted us to hear, like in any other process, there are these particular kind of challenges or opportunities that come with the process, whether you had experienced any of that. Caroline, if you're in, you can come.
Okay, I can quickly just speak on that.
Yes.
The biggest issue was, which was a very good challenge, was on agreeing on the compensable factors.
Yes.
I think maybe Daniel and the team, I can see Coach Mathangani, who is also on the wall, the people to agree, what are we saying are our compensable factors? And compensable factors are those key skills, the key thing that, or the key effort, the key physical demand for which an organization is willing to pay for or hire. That was the hardest one for us to agree, because everybody had their own ideas or what they believed was the right. So I think maybe that necessitated what Daniel and the SRC team were working on agreeing on some compensable factors that will work across the public service. In your own organizations or wherever you are, there must be that. The key thing, what is your mandate? What's the mandate of that institution what do you want to achieve? Then who are these people that you're looking for? And then what are these positions that you want? Then the compensable factors, and those are an array that I think maybe could be one of the slides that Daniel has. Could be accountability, the obligation that you are tied. Then there could be, what is the significance of this role? Who makes the decision? Because then those will be showing us which level do you want to put what position. Is it just a normal job that you do every day? Does it require key decisions? What is the impact of these decisions that you make affect? Some of them cut across the organization. Some of them just cut across the department where I am, like head of HR in my department. But there are decisions that I make together with my other senior managers that affect the whole of the council. That was very key for us to define. That took us a lot of time. It was a good challenge, but at the end, we mirrored ourselves to what was already in the roles in the council and what was required. Then number two was, there are few people who didn't think it was important. They were saying, why do a job evaluation when already we are in? Because of the fears they had, this could be, it's not meant to chase anybody from any work. It's meant to build and strengthen and help the organization thrive. So these are a very good challenge, both at the higher level and also in the mid. Some people wouldn't believe it was important. Then number 3, the process required a lot of time and effort, which we were at a very busy time. Remember during COVID, I think Daniel, the last cycle was during the COVID, just after the 2020-21 there. So it had to be a bit of a challenge, finding everybody to be on the same table and also doing the virtual meetings like now what we are having. So you must find a way that timing is important so that everybody participate in it. And then at some point, it also needed people to go for retreats out, for people to define what exactly they're looking at. Those were very key other challenges that we faced. But one thing, every of those challenges brought us together as an organization, because then everybody now knew what they wanted. Everybody understood the organization better. We were able to review the whole spectrum of the Council of Governors in a better way, because everybody played a part, and the bringing us together, the reviewing the documents, the job descriptions, tedious. It was a bit tedious because we needed to do it to our level best and assign value to every position. That was a very, very key thing. The challenges, but gave us opportunities, which the opportunities have given the success that we enjoy today, 1 year after that process, and we are very glad. Yeah,
thanks very much. I was actually almost asking you, if you were to count on the success, like 1, 2, 3, how would you order them?
I think for me, the success one was that everybody understood the purpose and the role played in the organization and how it links to the overall mandate of the Council of Governors. That was very clear. Number 2, there was the proper classification. Proper classification of jobs. Today, you ask anybody that where do this job that I do belong, they can tell you it belongs to this. Proper classification. Number 3, which was the joy of all staff, having a harmonized, rationalized grading structure. That was very, very key. The harmonized and rationalized grading structure. So that you come to work, whichever role, whether you're playing it today or the next people who will join the council, they'll say that my role fits here, and this role is properly graded. This role now has the external relativity, which shows that maybe because of upon affordability and upon also the funds that the exchequer can give us, then we have a structure that nobody doesn't have to gaze. You're not gazing in the middle of the way somebody asks you, what does this role fit in our grading structure? It is there and shared with all staff. So there's a lot of motivation that happened after this process. And then it may not have brought more, maybe salary or benefits immediately, but I believe in any budgeting process, any MTEF process, the salary structures that have come through the JE makes people comfortable, gives them comfort that the positions they hold are properly graded, properly classified, and everybody understands. That was really key, and those are the joys and the successes we celebrate in improving organizational equity and also improving the confidence that also people have in the role of HR when you do a job evaluation very well. Thank you so much, and I hand over to Karori, who was the initial expert even when we were not yet doing a JE already.
Thank you very much. The reason I'm laughing at this point is because that is usually a very exciting point when you get in a job evaluation. The grade is very clear. Everybody's excited, also fearful to see where they fit in the structure. And more so when it comes to aligning also the salary structure as well. Everybody is like in a tension mode, which is also explains why it's important for it to be there. I like the way you have linked it with the measure of performance of a job. So the challenge that there's someone who is actually having their mic not mute. I don't know who it is. Okay, thanks very much. Which is also aligned to performance management, or we call them performance evaluation. Very commonly also confused with job evaluation. And I've come to learn also that confusion, it's very, the line is very close there. As you look at performance evaluation, job evaluation, one's about the role, the other one is about the role order. So we are transitioning again to another phase of job evaluation. And if you're following, we're using a structure that is about learning, understanding first. At STEL, we have demonstrated the job evaluation kind of practically in an organization through the case of Caroline in the Council of Governors organization that they have deployed and supported the county governments through, and it has borrowed, of course, being part of the public service, one in Kenya done by SRC. Key contributors here, Daniel Karori, as well as Caroline herself. And I want us to transition now into one of the sessions that excites me most on how do we do a job evaluation. Yes, Karoli said, I'm there, I've been appointed into a role and things are hot and a lot of things are animating. Where do I start and what process do I follow? And I want to bring on board Daniel Karori, who is going to first tell us, when we go into job evaluation, there are many approaches, there are many methods that we hear. He is going to demystify that because that's a critical element of the process of job evaluation, deciding what approach or method you're going to use for you to, and whether he explained that actually from the onset, whether it's the right one and it's going to give you the right results that you're looking for. And how does the process look like from end to end? And I want us to just move with this swiftly because it's a process. I might not be interjecting so much. And as we move to this, I want to ask participants to be dropping the questions as they hit your brain, so you do not forget, and that we are going to come back to them and answer. So welcome, Daniel. We are eager to learn about the job evaluation methods available. How do we know you're choosing the right one, and how do we do a job evaluation? Karibu sana, Caroline.
Thank you, Damaris. Thank you, Caroline, and everyone who has been attentive and asking questions. I think let's get into the meat. I think we've covered a lot on the typical in terms of job evaluation and how we link that to the compensation, the organization structuring itself. And why I have this slide is because as HR managers, you need to know, as long as you're doing it, what do you expect to follow on this project with? Sometimes as HR professionals, we wonder, what is my next project and how do I plan the different projects that I need? Once you have your job grading and the job evaluation has been completed, there are a few areas that you're able to link job evaluation to. The first one being compensation, as Damaris and Caroline has talked about. Those are the goodies to your people. They have to see, well, we did a job evaluation, so the next thing that we need to do now is to realign the salary structures and ensure each and every person is being paid within the level that they are. And that is usually the first step mostly for most organizations. Usually it's not a must that you do it, but it is one of those goodies you can always give the different sections of your organization. If you are negotiating a CBA, you go there from an informed aspect in terms of what the job is and how much they are paying. Then when you are doing the job evaluation, we notice there are very many anomalies within jobs and organization and their reporting. We identify there are some silos there. We also identify problems in reporting and some jobs that may be heavily loaded in terms of the span of control is very huge, whether it's bodies or position reporting to that. So that feedback you receive during the job evaluation, now you use that to realign the job architecture within the organization so that you see, based on the grading, sometimes you may find in an 8-level grades, there is a job at manager level that is in grade 1, then the next job reporting to that job is in grade 6. That means in the middle there There is something that is not wrong, and what is not happening, and what is happening there is either now the manager has to look all the way down to support the one who is below, or the one who is below is trying so much to cover that gap. So that will advise you directly that in job structuring of that department, there may be some jobs missing in the middle level, at supervisory level, at officer level, and that will help you realign and solve some of those problems in job architecture. Then the next one is the whole HR life cycle, organization development and talent management. This is where, when you're recruiting, before you recruit, it's good to look at that job description, you realign it. If you have a job evaluation committee, you sit down, evaluate that job, place it where you would like that job to be reporting. Then you go into the market. Then we will reduce a lot of what we see currently, where an organization shares a JD. I've seen this in groups, even the HRM groups and HR groups, where people are discussing, you mean this organization is hiring a HR manager and they are paying them 50,000? I think you've seen that a lot. When you look at the job description put out there and the compensation for that, you're like, hey, this ones look misaligned. So part of that will be solved once you do a proper job evaluation and know even the naming of the jobs within your organization. Is this job a HR manager? Is it a HR officer? Is it a HR assistant? That can help you even when you go to the market, you are trying to attract the right candidates. Even when you're onboarding, person comes in, you're able to tell them, well, you are within level 4 or level 5 within the organization. These are the responsibilities, these are the accountabilities expected of you, so that there is no surprise when you are measuring performance for that job. Then in terms of network organization, you need to place people and network people with like-minded. There are some situations, even you, maybe you found yourself in a situation where you went to represent your organization in a forum, and you are the expert in your organization, and you find yourself there and you are hanging. You're looking at the people in the room, you're expected to give your views, but you're not sure if you're in the right room. But your organization forwarded you as their expert within that area. So that means you're in the wrong network based on your level and what you do, and the people that you are networking with at that level are off. Or when you find yourself in a boardroom or in a management committee, and you're not sure what your contribution is, that means there is some misalignment in terms of the job, where it's been placed and the person doing it. Then in terms of competency management, you need to know for each and every level, what are the different competencies, expectations, and at what level? Are they at foundation? Are they at an advanced level? Are they at expert level? So that when you're giving feedback and you're developing employee development programs, you can tell a person, look, your job where it is now, you are expected to at least communicate in the organization properly. You are able to develop reports or to draft reports at your level. But if you want to move to the next level, I need to see more of external engagement, being able to develop and review final reports, so that a person as an individual, you come out of that performance management meeting knowing where I am at now in terms of communication is within the organization or within a small department. But I'm expected to be seen out there representing the department across the organization. So that way you can easily link a training and development to develop the competence of that individual, and for them to know at the different levels within the organization, those are the different grades, the expectation on some competencies is different. And individually, if I want to grow, I'll put in my personal effort to be able to develop towards that aspect. So both the competence management and development, that's how they link. And in performance management is being able to link and cascade your mission, objectives, the KRA to the different levels, knowing the expectations. There's something that I see in JDs, and I'll talk about it in the next session, where you find JDs talking about assisting, like the job is assists or supports. What is it? How do you measure assist? How do you measure support? There's that line I hate. Any other duties that may be assigned by the manager. Which is that duty? Going to pick kids in school? Being sent for lunch, like how do we measure that at the end of the session? And maybe you've been doing that 90% of the time. So it's important for you to be able to see what am I being measured, what am I doing, and how am I being measured. So as we move to job evaluation, in terms of trying to integrate the different aspects of the organization using job evaluation, the first things first is to understand the requirements of the job. So it's the first thing you need to do is to have a job description, even a template that is uniform across the organization, so that you are able to even link that to your performance management system, to your competency development, so that each and every job description that you have is representative of the job that is there. Then each job needs to have clear requirements based on the job advertisement or the JD that you have. It needs to be clear so that if you're trying to be a good employer, to develop your employer brand, when you send a JD out here and we look at that JD, we are like, there is a serious professional in that organization. They do understand the job, they do understand how to attract, and they are able to defend how that job and what level that job will be within the organization. Then you also need to look at the career progression models that you have and how best they are. You look at this from the point of jobs. Jobs, I keep on telling people, they are non-living. They are structured, they can be changed tomorrow. So when you structure your organization structure and you have the different jobs within the organization structure, then you need to know, even if you are to bring in a robot, how will that robot grow across the organization? What is the expectations of the different aspects of this? So then once you've developed that, you can even map the remuneration aspect of it to a job. Then once you do that, come to the market, look for the people. The people are here, the talent is out here, but you need first of all to be sure what is that talent coming to do within the organization and how are you going to support that talent to grow within the organization, give you the best years of their career while they are working within your organization, so that even if they grow, they would grow the organization, then at least they gave you the best years and they performed for you in the best way that you can. And that is how we want. We want people to grow in the organization and move on to other organizations, because organizations are not the same. So it's important that you get the best years of an individual when they are with you. In terms of a typical job evaluation process, it's easy. I know a lot of people look at job evaluation and the first questions they ask is, are we going to be laid off? Or are we being managed out? There are those fears that come in. It is because traditionally the way people name projects, they may call them job evaluation project, but the end game is to lay off people. That is a different, totally different type of project. Job evaluation can be part of that, but it's not the same type of project. So it's important for us as professionals to know when you talk of job evaluation, what is it that we are talking about? We are looking at jobs and jobs alone, not people. Never at a point do we look at people. So we start at job analyzing the job itself. You look at the structure, look at the different jobs, look at the different job families, analyze what is being done. It would be amazing for you to know, most people, even in your organization, you ask them, why do their job exist? They are not sure. They think they come in to fill in a gap within the organization. Without knowing, actually, every job exists in the organization to fulfill the mission and the vision of the organization. So it's just playing its part. So you start with analyzing the jobs. Once you analyze the jobs, you come up with job descriptions and personnel specifications, which are more into education, experience, etc. Then you move into evaluating the jobs, that is ranking those jobs, measuring those jobs. Then from there, you can move on to pay structuring. Mostly, this is why we do the job evaluation within the organization, whether it's during hiring, whether it's during onboarding, or a fully fledged job evaluation process. So in terms of job analysis, this is another area that I remember when we were doing SRC phase 1, we spent about 6 months. I was with Deloitte then. We spent about 6 months going to different organizations, sensitizing people, HR, and the other departmental managers about job analysis, for them to come up with clear job descriptions. So you can imagine how intense that was, because job evaluation is all about garbage in, garbage out. You bring in garbage into the process to job analysis stage, expect your grades to look funny. So it's important for you to ensure that the job analysis section or aspect of job evaluation is taken care of and it's quite clear. Ensure that aspect is foolproof. So when you're analyzing the jobs, what are we looking at? We are trying to examine the details of the job. You're trying to collect additional data. Sometimes you may not know, but your job is not the same as it was 6 months ago or 1 year ago. And you may find yourselves, you've been in an organization for 5 years and you've never looked at your JD to see if whatever you are given when you joined is what you do. So even if you are to leave and they are to hire, they'll still look at that job description and put it to the market. Kumbe, as an organization, you already moved on from what that job was doing then. Usually we recommend after 2 to 3 years, you do a job analysis across. Also, when the incumbent leaves and you need to hire for that position, you do another job analysis to ensure that the job does not change. Because what happens is within organizations sometimes, and this happens a lot, an individual leaves the organization, then someone else is given an acting duty. So when they're doing an acting duty, they are performing the original role and a bit of what is being done at the next level. Sometimes they may perform so well and they are confirmed at the top position, but there are some positions at the lower position are then redistributed with the level lower and some with the level above. And with time, that ends up being a job and it was not designed to be as such. So when that individual leaves, now you're left with a gap of, why can't I fill this position? It's because that job it was not a person who was placed into a job, it was a job that was placed into a person. So the importance of job analysis is to ensure that you understand in your organization structure, what is the task taken by each job? What are the skills, qualifications expected? Then you check the gaps and duplication in the different jobs within a given job or given department, then the misalignments in the job content. Then once you get this, you have job descriptions that you are comfortable with to run end-to-end your HR functions in performance management, in recruitment, on onboarding. Also, you can move on to the job evaluation with those job descriptions. A big part of this is to also ensure that the personnel specification, as I said, on your right-hand side, qualifications and experience are separate also from the job titles and duties and responsibility. Also be looking at your titles. There are some titles that don't speak to the job. So ensure that when you have a job title, the duties under there are speaking into the job. And mostly you do this for jobs on the lower end. You find in an organization there is a job called a cleaner. I don't like it because this cleaner, the person doing that job is also doing printing for you, is also doing some office assistant roles for you. Why don't you place that job and ensure that that job is maybe an office support assistant or an office assistant? Then you place the job of cleaning. It may take a higher percentage, but also add the rest of the jobs so that you give that job some oomph. I remember recently there was a title in an organization, and the title is based on what the job does. And I told this person would not be proud if they are to pass on, and in the obituary, they would be told their job was this for 10 years. You are a cleaner or you are a food monitor. You know, things like those. Like the job itself is what you are doing, but you are doing just more than that. Then we need to look at those. So a bit of your job evaluation when you're doing the job analysis, also look at the titles to ensure that they are aligned. Then they are speaking to your to the job family. If a job is in engineering, look at the nomenclature in engineering. If the job is in administration, look at the nomenclature there and ensure that it's representative of that. Why does that help? When you're doing job matching, when you're doing the salary surveys, etc., you are able to match the right job with the right organization, or the right job with the right level within the organization. So a bit of this we've been able to talk about. So when you're doing a job analysis, the first thing you need to do, whether it's a fully fledged process or you want to do a small job analysis department by department, the first thing is have some people on the ground. As HR, we support departments. We necessarily don't need to know what goes on in detail in each and every professional line. So have a small team of job analysts who are able to help you collect the data, add on a little bit of their nomenclature and the jargon within their professional and their job family. Those are the people that are going to help you. That will be your core JE team. So once you have that, then you allocate them. If I'm in finance, give me finance jobs. If you are in HR, you're given HR jobs. If you're in engineering, you're given engineering jobs, etc. Then determine the information that is needed. Because you have your job description template, you know the different section. How do you populate that? I'm sure you experience this. When you find you're trying to update a JD and you're not sure, in this section, what do I put? Let the people doing the job do that. Identify the sources of data, whether they need to observe, whether they need to review the performance management, whether they need to check any systems that they are using, and pick the job data from there. Then ensure that you support them to complete the job description template by quality checking. Ensure that you're checking quality to ensure that the wordings are correct. Those things I talked about, support, assist, any other duties, remove those things from there. So that the job is representation of what the job is supposed to do. Then once you collect that, you evaluate, you verify that data and confirm the job data with the manager. And once they sign off, at least you are sure this is what they'll be measuring the different individuals based on the job content. And voila. After that, you have your updated job descriptions. And these job descriptions now you can move to them on the ground to either evaluate the jobs or hire for new position or update a performance management system. So in this case, our job descriptions were for job evaluation purposes. So what do you need to check? And we've spoken a bit about this in terms of the job evaluation approaches and strategies and methodology. So I'll just highlight a few of them. So there are analytical methods and analytical methods. Non-analytical methods were those that were used before, less structured, small businesses, where you are just able to look at the different jobs and place them within the organization. Funny enough, some organizations still do that to this point, even when they have already grown. So you don't even break the jobs into the different components. You just say, well, that job is a driver, this level, this will be the pay. This is an admin assistant, this is where it falls in. Anyone with an officer job, this is the level that they fall into. And that analytical method, there are some examples like the job ranking, paired comparison, grade classifications, or market pricing, where you look at market data, then you're like, a job of between 50,000 and 70,000 is usually on grade 2 or grade 3. Then you use the same within your organization. So they are usually simple to implement because they are quite visual, usually for small organization. They can be adapted to the different roles and changing. If a job grows to senior officer, you just know what has changed. Then they account for subjectivity. If you want to be subjective, this is the method you use. So if you want to manage people or manage some expectation of some individuals, this is the method that you use. But no, you'll have fights till the end. Then you require less resources because you just look at the structure and place the jobs where you want. but they are subject to bias. These non-analytical methods, they lack precision and objectivity. You cannot defend the grading and how the job fell where it fell. They may not provide detailed information for each job. You may overlook some things that are important to help you in the other facets of the HR life cycle, and they can be unreliable when you're doing compensation benchmarking, because you may be matching jobs which are not like to like because of the job description. Again, I come back to the case of the HR manager being paid 50,000. So you are comparing that with an industry where HR managers are paid maybe 300,000 and above, and that misalignment is already black and white. Then we move to analytical methods. This is where we are at now. This is where you should be as a professional. It's easy for you to use the analytical systems because they look at the different factors and the different components of a job, and they are able to give you a baseline for measuring the different aspects for the different jobs. Because different jobs may, even jobs within the same grade, they may measure differently on different factors. So you need to know that to help you in compensating and also rewarding. So some pros, they provide details and objectivity in the job evaluation, analysis, and they provide you with more data and information that you can work with. It's more precise. You're able to compare these different jobs. You're able to defend them, not only you, but people who are involved. It's a clear way of structuring the jobs, and you also identify areas for skills and development in the different jobs as you go by. Something you note during the job evaluation process is you appreciate other jobs, you appreciate other people more. It helps to bring people together so that they stop these silos they work in, and they start looking at other departments as less partners within the organization. And this is where you find, oh, HR is support, or finance is support, IT is support. There's no support jobs. All jobs in the organization are playing their part within the organization. Remove those jobs there, then you see how it looks like. It may be a technical job. It may be a technical organization, engineer, CTC. When you're closing your greatest deal, the person you call the cleaner can mess that deal for you if they don't do their part. Yeah, the office assistant can mess that deal for you if you don't do their part. So in analytical methods, the cons is you need to prepare because you need a lot of time to do that. They can be expensive because either you're hiring a consultant, a place where you are going to do that. It will take time also for the departments to be able to complete the job descriptions, and also you may pick a few people from the different departments to be able to support you with that. Then the significant expertise in job evaluation in the scheme that you're using or the technique that you're using, and may not account for subjective and intangible aspects of the job. And that is the fight that some organizations, especially within the public sector, are fighting for, because subjecting most all these jobs into an analytical methods, then analytical methods miss things like what do we call working conditions. So working conditions for the different jobs, how do we account for that? A police officer working at police HQ and a police officer in the northern border, or a police officer working in the North Rift where we have the bandits. How, once we've graded that, how do we manage the different compensation factors for that? But that has been addressed moving forward. But that is one of the issues that have always come up. Also, they can be inflexible depending on the scheme that you use, because the factors that you're using need to correspond to the organization and the job families that you're looking at. Examples of analytical methods: point factor and factor comparison methods. So in choosing which system to use, you need to look at few things. Because we are using the compensable factors to do a job evaluation, we need to see, based on the system that you're using, even when you're doing it yourself, when you're using consultants. And I keep on advising HR professionals, when you put these tenders out for job evaluation, Support your teams in procurement as an expert in choosing the best systems. Ensure that when you are putting in a tender, let the people responding tell you which job evaluation system they are using or which one they know how to use and which factors are there, so that you can relate that to the relevance of your organization, so that you don't get to a position whereby you get to the job evaluation and 2 or 3 factors do not relate with what you do within your organization, or maybe your organization is about service and the job evaluation system that you are using is talking about budgetary responsibility or sales responsibility, and they are measuring a lot on that, then that means it's misaligned with what you're doing. So ensure they are relevant to the job, the importance of the factors to the organization. These compensable factors are the ones that you pay those jobs for those things to be delivered. Ensure that you choose the factors that respond to the level of responsibility and the importance that they bring into your organization. If your organization, you focus a lot on education, experience, scholarly, look at the job evaluation system that appreciates that. But then there are some jobs that are quite technical that would go more for experience, know-how, and problem solving. Move to the systems that talk to experience, know-how, and problem solving, because different organizations need different ways of doing things to achieve the end game. Then the objectivity, ensure that you choose factors that are objectivity is high, to ensure that each and every job is measured with its own weight. There are some job evaluation systems that focus a lot on management, leadership, and hierarchical breakdown. Then they overlook the other aspects of expertise, specialization, etc. So it's important for you to be objective in choosing. Ensure that equity, looking at the factors that are there, are applicable to the different jobs. Things like gender, race, age are not important. So look at factors that correspond to that. Then they need to be consistent. You can apply them across the organization, across the different jobs, and you're able to measure those consistently. They also need to be flexible, can be adjusted over time to respond to the current realities of the world where we are moving. We are within the VUCA environment. So they also need to be feasible. They can work with you. The factors in the job evaluation scheme that you're choosing correspond to what you are expected to do. So ensure when you're choosing a system, you're looking into that. Now, I would like to move on now to the process in terms of some suggestions on application of the JE system. Regardless of the JE system that you pick, an analytical system would flow in the same way. So when you're carrying out the job evaluation, first things first, as we said, you're looking at the organization structure. That is a good lead for you. If the organization structure has currently been done, that is the base. Ensure that you have all the jobs ready. The job families are representative end to end. When you're evaluating, ensure that you look at the jobs vertically. I like using this vertical aspect to manage expectations. Sometimes you can start at the jobs below, but I like starting at the jobs above, because the neck can never be longer than the head. So you start with the job at the top, then you start cascading the different jobs downwards. That way you manage expectations of your panel, then you become a little bit much more objective in how you're placing the different jobs. So in each job family, you go one by one, then move on to horizontally. Sometimes when you're looking at jobs at management level, it's also important to look at them horizontally. You move from one manager to the other because you are comparing the same factors, and your discussions will be around the same things when you're looking at jobs within the same level. It's looking at the system that you're using, whether it's Patterson, whether it's task, Romness, Hay methodology. When you're looking at a factor, you easily understand when the process gets easier with experience. So if jobs are within the same level, evaluate all those jobs within the same level so that you discuss the same factors and apply consistencies in all of them. Allow for around 20 to 30 minutes per job. This is the hard part. But as you move on, then it reduces to around 15 to 10 minutes per job. Then ensure that your team is trained on job evaluation, on the system. I think this is the hardest part in trying to compare the jobs using the factors and being able to apply the factors to the real life job situation. So it's important for you to prepare the job evaluation committee, to be ready and to know how to use this. Also, when you're choosing your panel, pick individuals whose comprehension is a bit better. You may struggle a lot when you have to now start teaching people language, then application of the system, then comparing the job, looking at the system. So it's important for you to pick at least people who are within the second level or the third level within the job, who understand the jobs end to end, and who are able to represent the department fully, and who are able to comprehend the different aspects of the job. Then the other area is quality checks. Ensure that you quality check the results as they come in to ensure that any job that falls off is reevaluated, especially the first jobs that you begin with. Ensure the last day you look at those jobs because people are still learning and they may have overlooked some aspects and some errors may have occurred. And I will talk about errors soon. So in preparing organization structure, I said is a check, ensure that they are clear. Your list of jobs. Ensure the list of jobs is clear. Sometimes you may come up with a list of jobs and during evaluation, you're even ashamed. How did that job get there? Because that is a job, is a person, not a job. There are some promotional jobs that happen within organizations that are not real jobs. You may be given a senior officer, but it's really not a senior officer. It's just a promotion to manage an individual, but the job never changed. Ensure you have the real jobs that you have there. Share the JDs with the people, let them interact with that. Assign responsibility to the different team members for them to take care and be responsible for the jobs that are within their department. That creates ownership. Let them create ownership so that if there are any appeals, you are able to get back and talk to that individual and tell them, well, this is what you brought in. This is how it was evaluated. And these are the different factors in the application. So ensure there is ownership for the different jobs in each and every department. Then set up a meeting location without distraction. Usually out of office is better because you don't want to be in the middle of critically thinking about a job and someone is being called to sign a check or someone is being called to deal with something. Ensure out of office always works. When you are structuring for job evaluation, the first thing, prepare. When the job description is on the is brought on, ensure before you evaluate it, you go through the job description, you read it to your members, you get the first impression of how the job is. Then there's the presentation part, where the job representative, whether the person representing the department is there to describe the tasks, give you examples, you ask as many questions as you would like to, ask for the different incidences. That is the clarification stage when we are trying to clarify the different things. If you see something on the job description that you've never seen in action, feel free to ask so that you are able to give that measure of that job as much as you want. Then there is a very critical aspect that we have overlooked in most of the systems that we use is the career differentiation. There are different career lines that require different factors application and different ways of evaluating. Career lines can either be management. These are jobs with managerial responsibility, disciplinary management responsibility, budgets, or control over people, resources, etc. Those are the management jobs, and they can start all the way from a supervisor all the way up. Those are the jobs at the higher level of the organization. Then there are project management jobs, which are in the middle. There are jobs that are not really managers, they are project management, they have responsibility over budget, but they may not have any, they can coordinate people from different disciplines to achieve the end game within the project, but they do not have disciplinary responsibilities. Sometimes we confuse those jobs and we start evaluating them as managers, but they are project managers. So you need to look at that and ensure that you differentiate that so that when you're applying the different factors, you're able to know the different aspects. Then any other job after that is an individual contributor. This is a job, whether at the lowest level, entry-level officers, jobs that do support individual contributor, they don't have any people reporting to them, etc., or the higher end, the senior most experts within the organization, the consultants, the specialists within the organization, the senior experts. I think a lot of this was, especially in the public sector, some examples of where the misalignment was even in the teaching or in the hospital staff, where you have consultants or the senior most surgeon may not have departmental or management responsibilities, but they are an expert in surgery. How do you measure that? So you need to differentiate that and look at this job. You're like, no, this is an individual contributor at the higher end and not a managerial job. Sorry. Then after that, you make an informed decision on where you want to rate this job and ensure that you are consistent. I think Caroline talked about the different factors. In a job evaluation, there are broad factors that you need to look at. I've talked about that and I've given some examples that you can relate with. The input factors are what the role or the incumbent needs to know to identify and handle the problems within the job. This is what you come in within the job to be able to sort what challenges the job is giving. So you're looking at educational level, professional qualification if it's needed, experience and job knowledge and know-how. So these are measured consistently to ensure that the input you come in within the job is able to handle the problems that are within that job. And this is one of the greatest quality checks. A job that requires this, the top high level of education, you expect it to solve problems at that level. But then when you measure these jobs and you find the job is requiring this level of education and it's solving problems at this level, then there is a misalignment. Also, if you are experiencing this level of problem solving, you expect this level of education. And those are some of the ways you check the quality on how the input and the process factors measure and how they relate with each other. Then the process factors is what problems does the role need to solve? What is the problem solving aspect of it? What challenges I experience? What is the creativity or innovation that is needed? What is the division of attention as they do the job? Division of attention is called pressure in evaluation. And the influence. Who do they need to influence to get to the end result? How do they need to influence? Who are the stakeholders? And how best do they deal with these stakeholders? Then the output factors, accountability for results, the span of control, the impact, nature of decisions, the impact of those decisions, responsibility over people, over resources. Those are the output factors in each and every job. So when you're selecting the job evaluation system, ensure the input process factors relate, and also the weight given to the input process and output factors relates to your organization. As I said, your organization may be more towards the output factors, the process is taken care of. So you may want a job evaluation system that talks a lot into the output factors. Some you would require high level of input factors because of the expertise needed. You may need to look at a job evaluation system to use that has a lot of emphasis on the input factors. So those are some of the things you need to be aware of as you are choosing the job evaluation system. Usually the general principle when you're evaluating is you assess the job based on the requirements of the job, not the competency or performance level of the incumbent. If someone is a good performer, sometimes we tend to be biased, but you're not looking at people in this case. You're looking at the jobs. So ensure that you're looking at the JD. They may be stars, but the JD says this is what they're expected to do. So we're evaluating the job as it is. We assume the basic assumption of is 100% job being done to the best performance, and jobs around that job also being done to their best performance, because no job operates in a vacuum. You have other jobs you relate to. There are jobs that you are an output for, there are jobs that are an input into your job. So we assume those jobs are being done in the best way possible. There are errors that may occur. That is not a job evaluation factor, it's a personal factor. Then when your job is being presented, feel free to step out. This is to manage emotions and manage your small internal politics there within the organization. Ensure when someone's job is being evaluated, they are not in the room so that the other people can objectively give their points, because sometimes maybe the boss is there and they are like, hey, I don't want to contribute. I don't want this to come back to bite me. So ensure that they step out so that you participate fully. And job evaluation is not an employee or a management self-service. The translation into concrete activities and abstract requirements is a genuine HR task. Once you get the results, now it's for you to apply yourself to develop either the organization structure, update your competency framework, take responsibility from there. The team has taken you thus far. Now it's for you to run the implementation. Looking at the evaluation errors that may happen, it's a human process. So errors are expected. So I'll just highlight a few and how we mitigate that when you're doing a job evaluation. The first one is normal errors as humans as we have. The halo effect, looking at the unconscious bias, looking at the first step when you look into that, you start placing a person to the job instead of looking at the job critically. Then we start evaluating this individual instead of evaluating the job. So those are some of those things that come up. Then the hierarchical effect, looking at the visual of the organization structure, you already assume a job is in a certain place. So we may have that bias and not critically look at the job content to realign that bias. Because as I said, the feedback from job evaluation can help you to build a better organization structure. So let the hierarchical effect or the visuals of the organization structure not affect your decision making. Then there is also the sympathy or the reverse. If a person is a star, is well likable in the organization, when you're evaluating their jobs, you'll have some tendency of trying to allocate them more much because they are nice. Or if they are not good people or the people you don't like within the organization, you'll use this process to punish them. Ngoja tumfunze adabu, this department. So it's important for you to ensure that the sympathy and antipathy effect is not used here by remaining objective to the jobs and the jobs alone. Then when you're evaluating the different factors, when you get into a factor, you may also have a tendency towards the middle. This is just the way we do in performance management. When you don't want to be so tough on an individual, or you don't want to be, you just want to be nice. So you have a tendency towards the middle. You give the average score within a job. That can happen within a panel. You can have a panel that has that tendency. You can have a panel that have a tendency towards the mildness. So they are just nice people. You just want to give up, grade each and every job. You just want to be nice. You don't want to critically look at the different jobs and separate them. Or your panel also can also be very strict. So you look at every job critically and you criticize each and every job as a panel. So when you're in as part of that panel, as the owner of the job evaluation process, ensure that you read the room and check to see if you're either within the middle, mildness or strictness by checking the different results and how they are coming in and how people are responding to those. So how do we ensure that the job evaluation, to avoid those errors, what do we do? Perform job evaluation using a 4I principle. 4I principles is very easy. I have 2 eyes. I just need 2 more eyes to be able to do a job evaluation. Ensure you are at least 2 of you looking at the different jobs so that you can argue out a few factors and manage the expectations of the different people. Then sensitize your team to be able to know why you are doing it. Ensure they wake up every morning and repeat the mantra of job evaluation. We evaluate the jobs, not the person doing it. If you want them to say this after every break, ensure that they do that. Also raise those points when they start coming up. Then clarify the process, explain the methodology, ensure that you are consistent. If you started looking at a given job and you applied the different aspects of measuring a given factor and some examples that were used, ensure you maintain the same until the end of the process. Then monitor the results, how they are coming against the data that you have to ensure that you are not going either so off or you are within a certain level of consistency. Strive to ensure that you are consistent in the results. And something that comes up that is very funny is when you are doing a job evaluation, does not mean you're fighting the old system that has been there. The results deviating from an old system are not necessarily wrong. They worked, it was ranking at that time, but you needed to refresh. So ensure that you maintain that level of consistency, ensure that there is no friction between an old and a new system, because every time you evaluate a job, there may be new things that come up. Once you get the results now, you're moving on to communicating the results to the different people. This is very important for successful implementation. Ensure your general management, leadership, the board, where necessary, is regularly informed of where you are going and how you are doing and what is the feel on the ground. Then the managers ensure they are involved because they are the ones who are likely to lead mutiny against this or trash down the reports because you're peers. So ensure they're involved, they are part of that. Have some in your job evaluation session and have them contribute and take ownership of that at that level. Ensure that there is transparency in terms of the results. You clarify that in advance that these results will be using them for career development so that anyone with the expectation of salary is managed at that point. If you want to use the results for salaries, give them expectations. We are going to have grades, and these grades, we are going to use them for market salary data. Then based on where we are, we may or we may not increase or manage our salary structure better. Then ensure the rest of the workforce, you involve them from early on. My idea is when you start the project, you start communicating. Every week, any question that you receive, develop an FAQ, frequent asked questions that you send at each and every process, update them weekly where you are at, give them the responsibility of providing additional information, let them know when you will be expecting their feedback. Also, ensure that they know at what process and who is their representative so that you kill all these corridor rumors on what the job evaluation is and what is happening around there. It all should also be clear to those who are involved and those affected. It is not about their performance or their job, but you're looking at the job profile. If the job has been evaluated within a given time and it fell below the expectation, You need to let those people know that it's not about them, it's the job and how it compares with the rest of the job, and it does not affect them directly. So even if you develop a salary structure and someone is being paid above that, as HR, we don't lower salaries for individuals. So you manage that moving forward. If that position of the holder is promoted or moves on to another organization, you rectify that situation when you hire a new. And also open the door for appeals. People need to know they have the right to appeal. And when they're appealing, they need to tell us, has the job description changed? Because regardless of how many panels you form, if the job description is the same and the system being used is the same, you expect to fall within the same grade. So they need to show us this job description was not quite representative of what I do, and we have updated this and this and this part to show the different changes, or this and this has changed, or we felt the organization structure, functional structure we presented for our department was misaligned. We have reviewed that and we need to appeal. So ensure when you're opening the doors for appeal, it's clear and you have a policy, a job evaluation policy that has a section on appealing, and you give the guidelines on how you are going to handle appeals. It's very important for inclusivity. I think that is it on my end. There's a lot. Job evaluation is an area that I can talk for weeks. So I'm happy to, I just wanted to share that aspect. Caroline, Damaris, happy to hear what is
Take
going
any
on.
questions. What a session. We were just sitting here following you closely, Daniel. I even saw you coughing and I said, I'm not going to stop you. Let's get this done over with, because I know what happens when you stop the process. People sort of disconnect, can't pick it up again. But I think Daniel and Caroline has done us a great job. And if you agree with me, please give them a thumbs up, clap for them. Emojis are full there. And we are moving into a session of Q&A in the next about 5 minutes before we close. So drop the question there. I'll also pick some that I've seen in the chat. But hey, oh my, let me tell you, Caroline and Daniel, people are appreciating a lot through the chat. If anything in the chat is to go by, it's really adding a lot of value. I see even now the messages are really dropping, people appreciating this. I know that people asking for the notes. In case you didn't know, we are streamed live on Facebook page for Blue Concepts Africa. So everything, the whole video will be up there in case you need to do some revisions on the great insights that Daniel and Caroline were sharing along. Just go in there and log in and get to replay again the video if you want. People are really excited by these jargons like compensable factors. Caroline or Dante emphasizing right there. Lily, let me ask you, for those people who have done job evaluations before, as I tried to look for some questions I've seen right here earlier, how did you communicate the results? Because that's also another interesting point of view. Point of the process. You've done the job evaluation and you're done, and now it's what process did you use? Because the approach there also can bring some intrigues, like the way Daniel asked. How did you do that? Maybe you can just tell us straight in the mic or just tell us in the chat as we finish. And Caroline, I know you've been, I've kept you there tight. Maybe you can just add on. add on as you were listening to Daniel, some of the things that you want to put through.
Okay, I think, thanks everybody. I was trying to also answer the questions on the chat, some of them that were being asked. Yes. And I've also just put a quick summary on that process. Mm-hmm. It's been a learning and also growing and learning as we've been listening and hearing from the chats. Mm-hmm. One thing that will be important for all of us is that the JE helps us to sort our internal and our external. So that will really something. So external meaning be able to retain, attain and retain effective colleagues in our workspaces, but also internally it helps us to address any internal ambiguities or any internal confusions. That is something which is very, very key. And as you were speaking, it will help us to achieve our internal equity. So very, very nice. And thanks to Daniel, thanks to for such detailed presentation. Yeah, so any question that we'll have as we see them on the platform, we'll be able to address. Over to you, Damaris.
You're on mute, huh?
For that, I think Mary is muting me. I am loving how practical Daniel is describing this process. That is Terry Micheni. There is a lot of those appreciating kind of comments coming through, which is good. If you were to evaluate that session, definitely, you know, the factors would be animating very high rating, right? So use measurable, responsible. I realized Judith Mangenge, you said you have had experience in job evaluation, and I see you were not shy of sharing a lot of insights around job evaluation process and using the factor point. And I would want actually you to tell us, how did you do the communication of the results? Judith, I see you're still here. Mangenge, I think that's
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you so much.
Maybe Daniel, you can stop sharing so we can have an interactive one before we close.
Thank you so much, Damaris, and thanks a lot, Daniel. It was such a great presentation. Unfortunately, I'm not able to be on camera, so I'll just go ahead like that. Yeah, so basically, I just concluded my job evaluation process, and I'm at a stage where we are now doing the report to present it to the relevant parties. So I've not fully communicated to the rest of the organization. However, how I've done it, as I said, I used point ranking system, and of course, all the steps that Daniel has mentioned here, we went through all those steps from the job analysis to actually for us, we started with the job structure, the organizational structure, sorry, because for you to do a job evaluation, you have to get the structure right. Absolutely. And the structure has also to be aligned to the organizational strategy, because for us, we are looking at a 5-year job grading structure, because we probably will review it after 3 or 5 years. So we also looked at the structure, aligned it with the strategy, and from there we did the job analysis, all the way through all those processes that Daniel has really taken us through today. However, to ensure that there's a lot of buy-in and communication is easier, we made it very clear to involve the managers throughout the process, or the HODs. So as much as some jobs were falling off, some jobs were coming up, they were part of the process. And it was very clear that we are looking at the jobs and not people. So you find that emotions and, feelings of people losing their jobs were highly controlled through the process, because the meetings, we did the meetings with them, and then we had a JE committee team that was very, very objective. They were fully trained, and they were able to execute the job quite well. Because again, we also chose people who understood the roles very well and who have been in the organization, some of them for quite some time. So I realized that the key thing here is involvement and communication from the organization. That way, you get to get a lot of buy-in, such that when you come to communicate the results, then they are already part of the process. So it reduces a lot of, feelings of people losing their jobs or fear amongst the employees. So I'm yet to do that, but of course, I have an expert team. So you find the report presented to them before it's presented to the board, and then thereafter now communicated to the rest of the people. But then the HODs, they sort of have insights of what's coming and what's happening, because they've been in the process throughout the way. Yeah, so that's what I would say briefly.
Oh, thank you very much. Looks like you were ticking the process as we were moving on incidentally, and I like the way
Absolutely. For me, it was an amazing presentation, because I was just ticking. Did I do it the right way? And I liked the part of errors, because even as it happened to us, where at some point we had, misalignments, But then we adverted the appeals. I liked the fact that I was just tweaking the process, because even as we had the appeals and we realized that if the structure doesn't sit well, then your process will just not be very, very successful. You'll have actually to go back. So it took us around 8 months. Yeah, it was quite a very, very, very detailed process, but then it came out to be very successful.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Judith, for sharing your experience. I believe now when we talk about just knowledge and actually practical, being able to do it is completely a different scenario. You agree with us. One of the things I've realized, and I appreciate a lot when doing job evaluation, is job evaluation, which in most cases people don't think is like that, it is actually a change process. It has huge elements of change, and like change, sometimes you will, find resistance at different levels of the job evaluation. So it's good to be ready with some tactics, approaches on how to navigate those levels of resistance. And one of the points of resistance that you don't want it to really squeeze you down is towards the end, where you're giving the results, of course. But if you follow the process right, most likely you will not have these challenges towards the end. I have several questions here. So we will just take about 2, and then we'll get some comments from Mathangani Muyo has been so active. I give you a thumbs up for the activeness in the chat and right away being visible right here. And I'll pick someone. I think I saw somebody from maybe Uganda or Southern Sudan. I hope Masi Joroge, you're still here. And then we will move to the parting shot from the panelists, and then we call it a close. So allow me to pick one from, and I think this one, Caroline, you can pick it from Rabala, is saying in the public service, job descriptions were determined even 2 decades ago. How can one go about reviewing the JDs, examples and stuff cheap like that? Wow, Rabala is asking and wondering.
Thank you, Damaris, for that. I was just even trying to respond to him on the wall. I'm saying this is doable because Ministry of Interior was part of the process of the review. This last cycle of the job evaluation process and the review. But this goes to, the ministry has their HR teams. I think they were raised, so many of functions which were either retained at the national government and some devolved to the counties. They were doing the whole public service review. And I guess the ward administrators, the sub-chiefs, the chiefs, and also the provincial administration, the whole system, it's in the process. Because then even for them, they must also fit in the new structure. So if you are at a place where you can poke your director HR, also poke your, I think now that hierarchy in the administration, it is something that is doable. And then because of the advent of devolution, some of their roles were also added to the other executive and the legislature. So I know very well that the Interior and Minister of Interior and then the county governments, they're reworking this. Maybe we could just look at it and also poke the HR person to ensure that those roles are properly, they're no longer just sub-chief roles. They are roles which are very key and are helping them even to review terms, but also classify them properly with the advent of devolution. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I'm saying thanks for that, Caroline. Very clear. And I think, Rabala, you've gotten some insights on how that can be done. Patrick Kisenga, my question is, sorry, it's moving a little bit up here. I need to pick about. Does it mean that all the duties in a JD must be measured? I think, Daniel, you alluded to this earlier. Maybe you can just go straight to the point and answer Patrick on this.
Yes, the problem with our JDs and why we need to analyze them is because most of them are too wordy. try as much as possible, ensure that your JDs are talking to the output. The other things that you find in your JDs are how to. So in your JD, make sure the job, the line there, or the two lines are talking towards the output and expectation, something you can take directly into your performance management system. Then you will notice most of those other bullet points you have there are how to. So that is the first clarity that you need to have. Focus on the doables, the deliverables, the accountability.
That leads to the job. Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Daniel. I think we want to scroll back to where you were talking about that. I think you articulated that very well. And there you go. I concur with Judy. That is Priscilla Njoroge. That's in the earlier feedback that Judith was giving us. So thanks for that, Priscilla. Yes, thanks, Mathangani. Muya, Coach Muya, I think you were answering the one for Patrick up there. So as we move to the closing line, maybe I invite Coach Muya Mathangani to just give us a comment on how the experience was, because I saw you are totally locked in. You're mute. You may want to unmute yourself, Coach.
Yes, thank you. Sorry about that. Yes, thank you, Damaris. And I just appreciate the powerful presentation from both Daniel, Karoli, and Caroline or Dandy, because these are some of the issues that HR is grappling with. And even in the small organizations, the SMEs, I saw somebody asking here, what about if it is only you and your boss? Or something like that. Most of us are working with MSCs and SMEs, and we are about 20, 30. The minute you are about 10, you need a structure. So it's important. And we have gotten insights as to the importance of the job evaluation. Now, what maybe next steps, and I think Carol did that very well, and Carol, is how do you persuade your management that they need a job evaluation to create that balance, to create inputs into the organization that can help it attract, perform better, and create a better serving opportunity. So mine is to say, don't be shy as HR. Besides, there are a lot of these things we know about, job evaluations and all these others, but now is how do we actually present them to our management. And I think that is the next step. So we must have what we can call the quantifiable, and then qualify its importance. Without data, why are we doing this? We are losing staff. Yeah, like what Carol said, I think also that is, we should repeat that every day. You have been sent to a meeting, and because you've been called a position, business development, and you're finding giants and powerful people, and you just feel misplaced. Then how do you tell your boss, please, I feel so and so either should be enhanced, or we need to bridge this gap so that they can be able to represent us at that level with confidence. So thank you very much. It has been an Easter gift besides the greater gift that we are celebrating. And enjoy your Easter with all of you. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mathangani Muya. It was a pleasure actually to have you on board. You bring always wisdom into the table when on the table when you show up. We appreciate you for being part of this. I saw Terry, CHRP, Terry Misheni, you had put your hand up. I really am having some people here asking to say something. Terry, are you there before I move to the next one?
Yeah, thank you, Damaris. I'm here.
Yes.
I had put the hand up, but then I think Judith alluded to what I wanted to say about continuous communication with the team members. So that it doesn't bring a surprise to every member of staff when you're communicating results for job evaluation. But I also want to concur with what Coach is saying, that after this, so there are quite a number who have not done this exercise before in the organizations, and the warmth or the gift that you've given us, they will walk out of this platform ready to start carrying out job evaluation or wanting to carry out job evaluation from next week. But then, as Coach has said, it is good to start off by understanding why are you doing this job evaluation, and convincing and persuading your team, especially the executive team. Remember, it is an investment that you're going to make, and you don't want to, at the end of the exercise, nobody can see the value addition that you've done to the organization. So it is just necessary to have the buy-in from the top first, because it will involve a lot of changes, as you just mentioned. It will involve a lot of changes in the organization structures, their jobs, and it will touch some of the, very critical people in the organization. So it is good to get the buy-in from top before you get yourself into it and then get frustrations as an HR person, because again, you are just you are the driver of the process. You have quite a number of other members of the team that are not HR, and you are the only person who understands why you need to do this. So yeah, that I think he has said it very well. It is good to get the blessings from the executive first before you start doing things that they will start blocking execution at the head of it all. I would also want to, an experience that I've had maybe like 2 times that I've done job evaluation in my career life. Choosing the panelists, the JE panelists, the JE committee is also a very critical thing to do, and you need to think around it, because you don't want to have people who are there to sabotage the process. They know what is supposed to be done. You've trained them, but they are just there to, they don't want this exercise to bear fruits. So it is good to know the kind of people you are selecting for your committee, so that your exercise would be, would be a bit smooth, and to have a value addition to the organization. Thank you so much, Damaris. It was been a relearning session for me, even though I've done it before. I've got lots of insight from this session, and someone has said, please remember to share the contacts. I think I'll be reaching out to Karoli next week, because I'm at the point where I want to do some bit of competency development and framework after the job evaluation. So Karoli, see you next week. I'll look for you. Share contacts, Damaris.
Absolutely. In fact, because thanks very much, Terry. I love that you've done JE. Not once. I think it's even more than twice. And you actually chose to give us some experiences on that. I wish the time was a little bit longer. You could have listened to more of the people who've done job evaluations on that. So please, so people don't actually come after me, Daniel and Caroline, you can put your contacts, because I see so many people asking contacts for the panelists. Who doesn't know my number or my where to get me? Just look for me, Google for me, you will get me somewhere. So, but we'll put the contacts there. But Caroline and Daniel, please put your contacts there so people can reach you directly. It's been awesome session. I tell you, this is one thing we had to do, moving our colleagues or professional, colleagues from thinking of a JD, I mean, job evaluation is a very technical process to a practical, easy process that we can all do, and not just knowing, but also knowing how to do it. And here we got the experts right here. Daniel, is loaded. Look out for his profile. He's worked with almost all the methodologies on job evaluation, together with Caroline. You see why I say they are experts. We just picked one case study, and voila, we realized they are even co-shared in this case study unknowingly in different aspects. So you will get to get a lot of help. We work with Daniel, with Caroline in many facets within our work as we support organizations in Blue Concepts Africa. So because I have to close this, it's gone to 18 minutes. I'm just going to move into getting the comments from, the parting shots from our panelists, 2 of them. And then you'll allow us to close this. And we look forward to getting you to the next session on Saturday, That will be, by the way, talking about another very critical skill that you need as a professional to not only excel in your role, but also you can apply it somewhere else and get paid, just like the job evaluation you have seen. Very important. I cannot, because once I give it to Daniel and Caroline, we just have to close. I want to thank some specific people here, like Robert Sakayo. Are you on board here? This gentleman has done such a fantastic job. I don't know where you have come from. You've been sent by God, because it's really shared widely. Invited people to this session. Robert Sakayo, are you there? I want to recognize one of my colleagues, Mary Jenga, also very active towards job evaluation. I tell you, people tick in different ways. Mary, are you there?
Yes, Damaris, I'm here.
Yes, we just want to salute you for the work you've done in the recent 1 week, just to make sure this session works. Robert Sakayo is actually somebody else, and many other people. Did I see Coach Richard Magoma, or did I see someone else? Coach Richard, have you dropped?
No,
Coach
no,
Richard?
you're right.
Oh, you're right here at the center of the screen.
Yeah,
How are you?
very well.
Just in 3 seconds, please. Say something.
I will do it in less than 3 seconds. I love the concept you mentioned that job evaluation is actually an element of change management. So job evaluation cannot succeed without change management. Thank you.
Oh, thanks very much. Someone is saying you are the CS of positive vibes. Is that Nelson? We appreciate you for that. Thanks for joining. So let's get some parting shots from our panelists. Maybe you can start with Caroline, then we will take it to Daniel.
Thank you, everybody. It's been an exciting morning. And I can just say that when faced with a complex decision like a JE, then you will need to get back, take your cup of coffee and think, get a reminder of one big question. What is your purpose as an institution? What's your purpose as an organization? And what do you want to achieve? That will help you conduct a good JE. What is your purpose? Get back and think through. When you think through that, the JE process, which has been elaborated through, will flow. Even with the challenges, you'll be able to make it. Get your reason, your purpose, why you want to do it, and why your organization exists. Thank you and happy Easter.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Happy Easter to you. Let's appreciate Caroline with some nice emojis. I think she has done us a fantastic thing today. Someone who is giving us a story that we are not sure of. Abdi Rahman. Yeah, and Rabala, are you having a conversation right there? But I have to mute you. Thanks for that. We appreciate that you found time to come and share your insights on job evaluation, to come and actually share your case study of job evaluation that you've been so instrumental into in the Council of Governors and in supporting the county governments as well, especially in the role of HR administration. Thanks very much. We look forward to having you back soon in another conversation, Caroline. Tumeshukuru sana. Happy Easter. Daniel.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Damaris, and thank you, everyone, to have participated in this session. I appreciate your feedback, and we are happy to support you. This story of job evaluation being this elephant in the room, it's actually a small rabbit. It's just something that you need to like it and enjoy it. It's quite easy to do. It's something that can be part of your exciting projects that you do. And as I had told Damaris, as I did this presentation, you may have noted there is this sign here called Grader at the bottom. And I told you Grader is the job evaluation engine. It's an analytical, one of the most advanced. And we are the ones who are an implementation partner for Eastern Africa. So I came in with goodies for anyone who has been, who is still with us. You can get into grader.com and request for a demo account. I'll be able to give you a demo account for 1 month where you can play with it. You evaluate, reevaluate, reach out. I show you how to work with an advanced job evaluation engine. Then from there, we can have a discussion. But at least for now, just to give you exposure to web-based job evaluation engine, just go to www.grader.com. I will also share it on the comment section, and request for a demo account. Then within a week, you'll have a demo account and you run with it. Thank you very much, everyone. And looking forward to our next meeting.
Thanks very much, Daniel. I'm telling you, the ones who remain and hang in there get the goodies. Clearly, I see the 73 of us here are lucky. So we've been directed to a very resourceful tool right there by Daniel. And thanks, Daniel, for reminding me that. I see most people are still asking the Facebook page. It is Blue Concepts Africa Facebook page. If you just search that on Facebook, you'll get it. When you go there, the video is there. It's actually live even up to now. So it's the first one on top right there when you look at the live videos on Facebook. I've keyed it again on our chat right here. So for me, it's shukran. Thanks very much. People who are asking how can they get it to reach us for other conversations or training. Mary, maybe you can key in the contacts, but of course you can use info at, let me just try to key it here faster, info at Blue Concepts Africa, blueconcepts-africa.com. And then we will be able to actually get straight email from you .com right there, info blueconceptsafrica.com. Mary, you can key any number that anybody can reach us. For Daniel, which I see so many queries here, and Caroline, they have keyed their contacts here, so you can feel free and actually reach them directly as experts. They will help you. If you are now at a point where you are like, wow, now I know where the problem has been in our organization. We should have done this like 10 years, So you know where to start. You have an idea of the process. Don't fear when you get stuck. We're just here to take you through. It's what we do for our life, like what Daniel said. It's our small rabbit in the room, not the big elephant. I like that kind of a comparative. So we will be happy to help you through the process. I don't know, the people queuing in the admission room, and we are close. So thanks very much, ladies and gentlemen. The only thing I always ask you when you learn something, share with your friends who haven't been able to log in. Key in something that you've learned in your WhatsApp chats as you tell people, teach somebody else a bit of that. So when you go back to your Facebook or your WhatsApp, like I've seen some WhatsApp share list that someone can pick us. But as from me, your moderator of the day, Damaris Ndungo, I'm so happy, excited, and looking forward to seeing you on Saturday to the next skill to learn, not just to know, but also learn how to do it. And we hope you will be coming on board. There's some people really making a lot of noise on that. So look out for our programs. Again, we may not be able to mention all of them there because we have a set of solutions that we do, not just job evaluation. We'll support HR a lot. Like this April, we are hearing and sharing and engaging on skills just for free for HR. So we empower all of us. And like someone told me, and Caro emphasized this, when you look at job evaluation, it's not just relevant for human resource only. It is a skill that cuts across for all management levels. Because as long as you have someone who is reporting to you, you are responsible for their JDs, and the best JD you can create is part of this process. So invite those ones also. We continue learning together. Thanks, Daniel, for showing up. We will invite you again because you have barely scratched the surface of job evaluation, I know. And I know other things you do in depth, like talent management. Definitely, when you get there, you come on board. Caroline, your experience is so huge, spanning years, just not in Kenyan government, but also in multinationals. And we're not yet done with you. So we know we will invite you as long as you give us a thumbs up. Ladies and gentlemen, for being on board up to this point, sharing your insights and contributions, asking questions, I give you a thumbs up. Let's go out there and make it happen. We have some insights. If you want to revise, go on Facebook. And from Damaris, always moderating is not one of my things. I just know culture is my core. Yeah, I tell Daniel, culture is my core. You deal with evaluations, and we blend so well together because they move so well together, and we make a huge team out there in Blue Concepts Africa as we do these things. So thanks very much. At this point is where I invite you to say a goodbye, your thanks comment. Unaweza unmute just to say goodbye and see you next time. From Damaris, your moderator, thanks for navigating you and have a great Saturday. Happy Easter.
Bye.
Thanks.
See you
Bye.
again.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.